What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we are back with a new top 10 for you guys today. And today we are taking a look at top 10 starter tames for the Primal Fear mod. Now guys, as you are aware, we are doing a Primal Fear playthrough on the channel at the moment, and I thought I'd go over some top 10 tames to get started on Primal Fear, because it is quite a little bit of a difficult mod if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know how the progression system works. So I thought I'd put this together for you guys, and yeah, let me know if you want to see any more Primal Fear top 10s, because I've got a couple planned. But like I said, if you guys have any in specific that you want, just leave them down in the comments down below. Now guys, we'll be discussing these ones in a little bit more depth this time, because Primal Fear is a little bit more complicated. But without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Now guys, first things first, the Primal Fear mod has a kibble system implemented that you need in order to get to higher leveled dinos. So for example, the first kibble that you can make is the Toxic kibble, following is the Alpha, the following after that is the Elemental, the Apex, the Special, the Elemental Advanced, the Fabled, and then the Celestial and Demonic. Now each of these kibbles requires the predecessor's eggs, so we'll be going through them in that sort of order. But guys, let's jump into it. Now guys, coming in at number 10, we have the Dodo. Now, the reason why the Dodo comes in at number 10 is because in order to get to the next level of kibble, which is the Toxic kibble, you actually need standard dinosaur eggs. Now, they don't have to be any fancy eggs, any sort of eggs will do, which is why you want to go for the Dodos. The Dodos are probably one of the most widespread dinos on any of the maps, and you can find these guys in the droves on the beach, and these guys poop out eggs. Oh my god, like no tomorrow. Like, they will just crap out eggs as well. As well as that, they're also very ferocious fighters. You can see they're trying to take on a Rex. We're going to save these guys the trouble, and we're just going to kill the Rex just to make sure we don't lose these little dudes. But these guys are great first tames to go for, especially on the Primal Fear mod, because you want to have egg productions happening straight away. Because like I said, that is what you need in order to make the next level of kibble, which is the Toxic kibble. So you can currently see here, Toxic kibble, you require a single dinosaur egg. Any egg, which is why you want to go for the Dodos, because these guys are the most widespread dinos on any of the maps, and they poop out eggs like crazy, especially if they're mate boosted. But as you can currently see, we've only got males everywhere for some reason. But yeah guys, the Dodos come in at number 10 on the list. So let's move on to number 9. Now guys, next up at number 9, we have the Toxic Dodos. Now these guys once again are an upgraded version of the standard Dodo. So once you tame your basic Dodos, you will then want to go for these guys, the Toxic Dodos. They are the next stage in your kibble lines. They will be producing toxic eggs, which will allow you to then tame up the alphas with that kibble, with their eggs. And these guys are exactly the same as the standard Dodos. If you guys have seen my playthrough of Primal Fear, we have so many toxic eggs because these guys just crap them out like crazy. Just like the standard normal Dodos, as well as that, these guys are easy to tame. All you need to do is knock them out and feed them to toxic kibble. These guys don't have a lot of torpor as well, which makes taming them up a real cinch, because you don't need to waste a lot of tranks and whatnot to tame these guys up. You can see they're only 273 torpor. So these guys are really easy to tame, as well as that, depending on your settings, they will generally only require one kibble in order to tame up, which is very cost effective and cheap, especially when you want to start trying to save and produce kibble in the droves. So guys, let's move on to number 8 on the list. Now guys, coming in at number 8, we have the Stryacosaurus. Now I apologize if I butchered that, but these guys come in at number 8 purely for their berry gathering skills, as well as that they do make a pretty formidable amount, because they do a bleeding attack, which actually can deal quite a lot of damage to whatever it is that you're attacking. But these guys are very similar to the standard trikes. I do find that they are slightly better at gathering berries and whatnot, though. You can see that we are gathering quite a lot of berries, as well as that they are better at gathering seeds as well. And if you're just sick of the standard trike, these guys are the way to go, and they're just a lot fun and a lot cooler to look at, and you can get some really funky looking dudes, like in terms of colors, for this guy. And these guys are found in the droves around the map as well, and these guys do also produce your standard eggs, and like I said, they are the better berry gatherer in my opinion in comparison to the standard trike. As well as that, you can craft, you can use them to collect thatch and wood and whatnot, especially if you utilize their charge attack, the right click button. you see here, will charge through these trees. It's a really good way to grab a crap ton of thatch. You can't use this to gather berries, but you can use it to plow through enemy dinos as well. And what we'll do is we'll spawn in another wild one here, and you'll see that they do deal a bleeding effect. So you can see that this Stryacosaurus does take damage. We'll activate the spyglass so you can see the effect. You see they're bleeding. So that does a percentage of health damage to the dino, and I do believe it also slows them as well. So these guys are pretty formidable fighters, and you can pump their melee damage and health in order to make them better fighters as well as better berry gatherers. As well as that, these guys do have a really solid amount of weight. Like I said, they are kind of just an upgraded version of the trike, and you will want berries for these guys because you will need to start your farms in order to make the rock carrots, citronnels, lemongrass? Lemongrass doesn't sound right. Longberry, I think it is. You guys know what the veggies are, and the sava root. So make sure you definitely tame one of these guys up. They are relatively easy. We didn't actually show you guys the torpor on these guys. So the torpor is very similar to a standard trike, 3.2k. Make sure you hit them in the body and not the actual head plate. Otherwise, they will take the reduced damage as well. But you can see you just need the basic berries, the Mijo berries, in order to tame these guys up. They're just your standard sort of tame. So guys, let's move on to number 7. Now guys, coming in at number 7, we have the Anky. Yeah, that's right, the basic Anky. Now, through Primal Fear, you will require a lot of metal in order to craft certain saddles and in order to craft certain things, like the structures and stuff like that that Primal Fear adds into it. As well as that, if you are running other mods on the map as well, you're obviously going to need metal for that. I know it's a basic tame, but you will be needing to wait while your dodos produce eggs, while your toxic dodos produce eggs, while your crops grow. So what better way to fill the time than by harvesting metal? And your Anky is just the boy to do that. This guy is still the king of gathering metal, and he is able to gather it in the droves. You can see that we've got 1,000 metal already on us, just like that. Now our rates are obviously boosted a little bit, I think 7 times. But you can still gather a crap ton. He is the best metal gatherer in the game, in my opinion. And you will need one in order to gather your metal. However, guys, if you do have the capabilities to tame up a toxic Anky, which does deal more damage, it also has the ability to deal torpor damage, as well as having a higher weight capacity, then by all means, go tame one of those bad boys up, because they will be better than your standard Anky, but you definitely want to just go for the normal variant if you are waiting for your dodos and your toxic dodos to produce eggs and whatnot, because believe me, these guys are absolutely phenomenal at gathering metal. As well as that, if you do want to just skip over the Stryacosaurus, you can use these guys to gather berries as well. And you can use these guys to obviously gather flint, and you will need spark powder, gunpowder in the droves for the Primal Fear mod, especially once you get into the bullets and darts section of the tranks. You will need a lot of gunpowder for that. And these guys are perfect for farming all of that up as well. So guys, let's move on to number 6. Now guys, coming in at number 6, we have the Pteranodon. Once again, another vanilla dino, I know, but these guys are such easy tames to get, and they are so useful, and you can find these guys literally everywhere. All you need is a bowler and a couple of trank arrows, and you've got yourself a flyer that is capable of flying around the entire map. Granted, after you pump a bit of stamina into these guys. Now, the reason why we've got the Pteranodon here and not another flyer is because, like I said, this guy is the easiest flyer to get. He's got the cheapest saddle requirement and the lowest level saddle requirement as well. But if you guys do have the ability to get wyvern eggs as well, definitely go for those. But once again, you will need a Pteranodon in order to get the wyvern eggs. So at the bare minimum, you definitely should tame these guys up in order to just scout around the map. Look for any potential Primal Fear dinos that you want. Look for any sort of dodos as well. Because, like I said, you guys can easily maneuver around the map and use these guys to scout any sort of potential tames. And if you do come in firing distance of any sort of tames, you can just take off into the skies and be nice and safe and sound. Like, for example, look at all those aloes over there. If we wanted to get into a fight, or we were trying to scout out, or we needed to land for stamina, we could easily do so and then just take off again, or even kite the aloes off the edge of a cliff and protect ourselves. The Pteranodons are such versatile tames, and they are so easy to get, and they're just so easily worth the cost. So guys, let's move on to number 5. Now guys, coming in at number 5, we have the Argy. Yes, the normal Argy, the standard Arc Argy, I know. You guys won't be able to really tame up too many Primal Fear dinos straight off the bat because, well, you need the kibble system. But these guys are still just as good as they were in the vanilla game as they are for Primal Fear. These guys are great. You can use them to pick up Ankies. You can use them to pick up your Dodo army that you will be taming. You can use these guys to ferry metal, to ferry items, to ferry literally anything across the map. These guys have a lot better stamina than the Pteranodon. They've got a lot better weight. They can almost fly infinitely once you get enough levels into their stamina and whatnot. They can put up a fight against the standard vanilla dinos as well as certain toxic dinos as well. But like I said, if the opportunity presents itself and you have the ability to tame up a toxic Argentavis, which believe me, they do spawn in quite a lot, and you can find them relatively easy. If you do have the ability to tame up one of those instead of the standard one, definitely go for that. But starting off, you will be after your vanilla tames once again. So the RG is a great tame to do so. Definitely worth investing in, and I would heavily recommend grabbing one as soon as you hit the level requirement for their saddle. But guys, let's move on to number 4. Alrighty guys, now coming in at number 4, we have the Alpha Dodo. Now, once you've collected enough eggs, you've got your farm up and running, you've got your crops growing, you've got veggies coming in, you know, you can start making the kibbles. The next dino you want to go for is the Alpha Dodo. These guys are by far the easiest alpha that you can tame up. Now, I don't believe there are Alpha Dodos. I haven't actually seen any Alpha Dodos before, but the next best thing is the Alpha Dodos. They are cheap, their torpor is low, you can easily knock them out with a couple of trank arrows, even the standard basic trank arrows, and they do produce eggs at a pretty decent rate. You know, it's not by any means like the Dodos, but these guys still are capable of producing eggs at a decent rate. If you pair it with an Oviraptor or the S Plus hatchery, you'll easily be able to get a 50 eggs out of these guys in a couple of hours, depending on what your server settings obviously are. But like I said, these guys are cheap, they're easy, the RG can carry them, so you can easily ferry them back to your base if you find these guys. And these guys do spawn very similar to the Dodos, in that they spawn in quite large numbers in a lot of places around the map. So I definitely recommend investing in Alpha Dodos for your egg producers. If you can't find Alpha Dodos, then just look for something around your base that has a very similar spawn rate. For example, in our Primal Fear mod playthrough, we actually stumbled across a Caprosuchus spawning zone, so we just had a ton of Alpha Capros spawning in, and they were the next best things for us because we couldn't find any Dillos in our local area, so we just tamed up a bunch of Alpha Capros and they were our egg producers. But guys, let's move on to number 3 now. Now guys, coming in at number 3, we have the Alpha Snow Owl. But in reality, you could literally put any Alpha Flyer that you want in this position. I personally like the Snow Owls more so than the RG and the Pteranodon, hence why the Snow Owl is up on the list. These guys are a bit of an annoyance to tame sometimes in comparison to like the Pteranodons, but these guys are well worth it. They have the ability to heal, they have the ability to deal damage, and they can just pack a punch wherever they go. And like obviously they can heal themselves. That's one of the big things as well. Now, when you start getting into the alphas, you will start noticing that you are going to be hitting for a bit more damage because, well, that's how this system works in Primal Fear. The stronger they are, the harder they're going to be hitting. Now, this is by no means the top of the tier. You definitely have a lot of surprises in for you if you think this is going to be top of the tier. But the Snow Owl has everything. He can glide, he can cover the map real fast, he can heal himself, he can scout out enemy dinos and whatnot, as well as wild dinos for potential taming. I just really like the Snow Owl, but like I said, you guys can actually replace this with whatever you'd like to replace it with at number 3. For example, there is an Alpha Pteranodon and there is an Alpha RG, so if you feel like taming up one of those, go for it. But it also depends on what you find as well, because the spawn rates of alphas and the higher tier creatures is a lot lower than the vanilla. I believe it's a 3.5% chance of an alpha to spawn in on the map instead of like one of these standard regular creatures, so just go after whatever you can find. But I would definitely go for a flyer, hence why there is a flyer in at the number 3 spot. But yeah guys, the Snow Owl can do pretty much everything that you want a flyer to do. Deal damage, heal itself, glide, cover the terrain real quick, and it has plentiful stamina as well. As well as that, these guys are relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but cheap in terms of tranks to tame up. You can see here 29 torpor. Once you get to this stage of the game where you are producing alpha kibble, you should be on par with producing the darts. as well. You can see here you'll be level 62, so you will be able to start producing the alpha trank darts and the potent trank darts, which, you know, 29k torpor does sound like a lot, but when you start getting into the darts and you have a decent long neck and whatnot, these guys will take a couple of darts to knock out. And you obviously can just trap them as well to make it easier to tame these guys up. So let's move on to number 2, guys. Now guys, coming in at number 2, we have the Alpha Dodo. Now, the Alpha Dodo, once again, is going to be one of those kibble tames that you will need in order to advance to the next level. Now, if you guys have noticed, the last 2 dinos, the Alpha Snow Owl and the Alpha Dillo, both have been egg producers. You definitely want to go for egg producers first because they're obviously going to be producing the eggs, which will allow you to advance into the next stage of the kibble. You kind of want to stay away from mammals for the time being until you get your kibble system up and running and you start getting a lot of egg production going on. But the Alpha Dodos, very similar to the Toxic Dodo and the Standard Dodo, found around the beaches. They have a 3.5% chance to spawn in, I believe. So you've really got to keep your eyes out. But they can be carried by the Argy as well, and you can also ride these guys as well. Now, these guys are a little bit hostile. They're very feisty. But these guys aren't too hard to tame up. 912 torpor. These guys are only level 35. If you obviously do stumble across a higher level one, they will have higher torpor. And depending on your taming rates, they are very cheap to tame up. So I definitely recommend getting yourself some Alpha Dodos. They are higher than the Dillo on the list because of those reasons. They're cheaper, they're easier to tame, and they're more abundant. But guys, if you do have the opportunity to, like I said, have a different spawn in your area. For example, you might have parasaurs spawning in the droves, and you find alpha parasaurs. Go for those guys. You know, don't just tame these dinos that I'm telling you on the list. Use your brain. If you've got spawns of large certain types of dinos happening around your base, go for those guys instead of the dinos that I've set on the list, because chances are those guys will spawn in more often and you will have an opportunity to tame up more of those alphas, the Alpha Dodos that are presenting themselves on this list, or any of the other dinos on this list. So yeah, take that into consideration as well, guys. But the Alpha Dodo comes in at number 2 because of its mass egg production and just its simpleness to tame. Now guys, coming in at number 1, we have the Fire Megaraptor. If you followed this list and you've gone after your alphas and you've gone after your toxics and whatnot, you will have the capabilities to tame up your first elemental. Now, these guys' kibble is, I mean, it's not too crazy, but it is difficult if you don't have the right stuff. So you will need alpha blood, alpha eggs, cooked prime meat, and savaroot. So you will need to make sure that you've got your farm up and running and that you've got your previous tiers of egg productions running efficiently to be able to craft the kibble. But guys, the reason we've got the Fire Megaraptor is because these guys are insanely fast. They deal a crap ton of damage and they do the burn damage over time to enemy dinos. For example, we got this dude up here. What is he? Standard Argy? Standard Argy, and we just melt through tames. These guys are nuts, especially the Megaraptors themselves. Now, you don't per se have to go after the Fire Megaraptor in itself. You can go after any sort of elemental flyer or creature that you want. You do have access to like the Feather Flights, the Archaeopteryx, there's a couple other ones, but I can't remember. You've got Griffins, but you don't want to tame the Griffins because they will not be producing eggs. As well as that, you also do want to be focusing on taming up females. You don't necessarily have to worry about taming up a breeding pair because the egg production on these guys is absolutely crazy, especially the females. Like, they produce eggs like crazy, even without a mate. As long as they've got that egg production buff going on, they can just poop out eggs like no tomorrow. But the fire one is personally my favorite because, like I said, these guys deal insane amounts of damage. Look at that damage that just went on there. So, yeah, and you do want to try and tame up the Megaraptors as well because the Megaraptors are the fastest flyers out of the elementals, aside from, I think, the Griffin because he's got his glide ability. But yeah, these guys are great for cruising around the map and just melting and harvesting a crap ton of resources from your alphas and your toxics and whatnot. But yeah, guys, if you've got access to another elemental in your spawning area around your base or whatever, or you just stumble across one, definitely invest in it. Now, you will need to be careful when taming these guys up because they can be quite difficult. You will need a behemoth gate in order to get these guys trapped, but you want to try and just nail them. When you get to this stage, you should have access to the Primal fabricated sniper rifle, which is, in my opinion, the best one to craft. Where is it? Should be like, yeah, there we go. Level 83. So you should be able to craft that up, and you will want to start using the bullets as well, because they will enable you to knock out things at a very large range and a lot quicker, because you can have up to 8 bullets in a single cartridge, which allows you to pretty much snipe from a distance and hopefully knock out the creature before it gets too close to you. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up the video for today. That's our first top 10 Primal Fear video. We will be doing more of these in the future. But like I said, if you guys do have any suggestions or anything that you want to see for the Primal Fear mod, let me know down below in the comments, because we will cover it. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this one down below. But other than that, guys, I will catch you in the next one. I got this soul.